Test, test. Can you hear me? I hope so. I'm going to go ahead and turn the volume up on this a little bit. Okay, that looks better. All right. Sorry, I was just grabbing coffee. I'm going to finish that. Okay. So, one more camera view I'm going to add here, and then that should do the trick. Do you have a coffee pod down there with you? Oh, yeah. Yep, sure do. There we go. That's actually set up perfectly, too. Oh, yikes. Sorry, guys, bear with me just a moment. I'm putting that view down here in the corner. All right. So you can see a head-on view as well as the top-down view. So. All right. So tonight, working on a build. I don't know, it's just another customer build, but I think this guy was playing like Final Fantasy or something. I'm gonna turn my own audio down so I don't hear myself. But this is mostly parts from Amazon. There's one part from another vendor, which is Newegg. And then, of course, we've got the weird boxes that they're making to fit your product now. So, super fun to tear down. I'll do it later. Okay. So, for this build, we're going to go with kind of a typical build. This is a B550 board, MSI. Tomahawk B550. Went with that just because might as well have Wi-Fi. And it's a pretty good, easy build, easy building board to work with. Okay, I should have figured that. Here we go. I was hoping to make it through this whole stream without that, but that should be better. Appreciate the heads up there. And we went with a Radeon 7700 XT for the graphics card. And then this should be all the little meat parts of this build. The only thing that I didn't have to order off Amazon because I had it in stock for him and I just held on to it was a 1 terabyte SSD. So those are like significantly more expensive on Amazon, and Best Buy's been having a hard time keeping them in stock. So I just decided to go ahead and use one that I had. So Ryzen 5 5600X. We have the typical Corsair Vengeance DDR4. This is 3200 megahertz. And an RM750E for a power supply. Go ahead and stab some of these air packs. Get rid of this box. All right, so as you know, motherboard is always the first step, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out, get that M.2 SSD installed, get the RAM going. Just trying to find a little baggie that has screws in it. It's in here somewhere. Here it is. Okay. Set that up there. All right, set our anti-static bag over here, and we're ready for CPU installation. So, get that done first. We're not doing anything fancy with this one. Wanted a relatively budget build, but still nice. So a lot of this is just kind of basic parts. So this build should go fairly quick. You know, it's the liquid coolers and the fancy RGB stuff that's a little more time consuming. I mean, this case has some RGB built into it because it's got a deep cool case. Go to your bed, Willow. Go on. Dog's down here. So she's trying to come visit. She's actually just trying to get permission to drink water. At least that's my belief. Okay, so the CPU's in. Got it stuck down here. Doing just fine there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the M.2 slot before I install the cooler, just because it makes life a little bit easier. To not have to work around a CPU cooler. Okay, you jump up and grab that drive real quick. Just right in here. Okay. All right, so the WD, it's a WD Blue SN850. It's a brand new drive. It just wasn't in its case. I took it out a while ago. I was originally going to use it in another machine. Never did, so it hasn't even been fully installed in another machine. Okay, so naturally we don't have the backing for where this is going to go, so pop this little bag open, dump out what I need, which is a standoff. And I'm hoping you guys can hear me okay. I keep feeling like my beard is rubbing on the mic, but maybe not. What cooler am I getting? I'm just going to use the stock cooler, the stock AMD cooler. Nothing crazy fancy. The 5600X comes with the stock cooler, so. There you go. sure that's screwed in all the way. And we'll pull an M.2 screw out of here. Beard not causing problems. Good. Good, good, good. Alrighty. Go ahead and get the M.2 drive slotted in here. Looking good. Now, a lot of times if I don't have a stock cooler in stock, I'll, you know, for these AMD builds, I'll usually just use like a Cooler Master cooler. You know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Someone's trying to call me while I'm streaming. That's cool. Oh yes, and before I stick the top back on, I have to peel the plastic off of this guy. Everything's wrapped in plastic these days. Kind of annoying. There we go. Okay, that SSD is installed, so now I'm going to go ahead and do the cooler here. That's actually kind of a cool view from the top down. The Ryzen really stands out on top of that. Just because I turned my lighting down in here a little bit so it wasn't uber reflective. So I turned my lighting to 50% versus the 100 that I usually have it set at. Because 100 tends to blind you in here. Okay. So because this is a newer style cooler and it's actually got 4 screws on each corner, you know, it's got 1 screw on each corner here. I have to take the retention brackets out for this. A pretty normal thing for these boards. They're kind of set up so still kind of in the style of the old coolers. There's the old AMD AM4 socket coolers would use 2 retention brackets to hold it in place. Like 2 retention clips, I guess I should say. I'll just pull these off. And we've got that beautifully pre-applied thermal paste from AMD. So we're gonna go ahead and just slide this right into the 4 holes here. And I'm not trying to cinch everything up all at the same time. Just doing opposite corners first to make sure that I've got everything lined up properly. And then I'll tighten down. All right, now everything's, whoop, actually caught, so I can tighten down. I guess this side decided that it wasn't actually caught. Not a huge deal, just a little annoying. There we go. Let's see, I had all 4 holes started, but Okay, we're good on that. Tie a little knot in the fan here. And slip that onto the CPU fan header. All right, so the motherboard is almost done. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the RAM in now. And I'm getting things statically sticking to me, which is super fun. I'm checking every once in a while for comments and things. I'm not seeing a lot on Twitch. If there's anything coming in on Facebook, I'm not seeing it. I know there's at least one person watching, so. Seems like we got 3 on Twitch right now, though, so. Oops. Okay. First RAM module and the second. So we have a 16 gig kit is what they went with here. Again, nothing fancy, just enough to basically play the game they want to play, meet the minimum system requirements, and you know, play it well. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the motherboard aside for now. I've got everything installed on the motherboard that we want to install on the motherboard. So we've got the one M.2 drive, we've got the cooler, and the RAM. So all right, take a drink of the coffee here. So next step's going to be breaking out the case, and hopefully that sits there well. The case is a Deepcool CC560, which I don't know if the model number means anything to you, but basically I was looking for a case that was going to be big enough that would meet his RGB desires, which I don't know if he really cares about that much, but basically it's got 4 RGB fans in it. Mythic Eclipse TTV creeping in here. By the way, this is Trevor. Oh, nice. What's up, Trevor? I don't know if I ever gave you my Twitch before. Apparently I did, but cool. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for the first time chat. Not doing anything too wild. Okay. So case, in reality, what I was trying to do was pick a nice case that would not break the bank. And I think this case is like 60 bucks. So it definitely fit the budget. You know, we weren't going for any crazy over the top anything really on this build. Okay, see if I can do this. This doesn't want to come out of the box easily. Tight squeeze. All right, there we go. Oof. Oof, shocking. Okay. Just playing with your RC car with your daughter. Nice. Alrighty. Well, here's the case. This is the Deep Cool that I was telling you guys about. And like I said, nothing super fancy. There's 3 RGB fans in the front and 1 in the back for ventilation. So I'll go ahead and get the peel pulled off on either side here. And we'll get the glass panel taken off the front. Okay. Well, that wasn't screwed in, so that's cool. And there we go. Glass panel's off. Time to make sure everything's in place for the standoffs. It looks like we're good. Okay. So now, I'm going to go ahead and slip this motherboard in here. Now this already comes with an I/O shield pre-installed, so there's no need to worry about that. Sometimes you have to install an I/O shield on the back of these cases. This is not the case this time. And I made a crucial mistake. Not referring to the hard drive brand. But the crucial mistake was I put this in before I pulled the box of goodies out of the bag in this case. The bag of screws. There's usually a box or a bag of screws that's inside each case. So it looks like Deepcool just throws everything in one bag and says figure it out, so we'll just say they're not first time builder friendly. Okay. So since everything's in one bag, I'm gonna have to do the dumping game here. And pull their board screws. Sorry, I'm just separating out the motherboard screws from the other ones here. Now there's a manual that if you are a first-time builder, I'm sure it references the different types of screws in here, but I'm not a first-time builder, so I already know where this stuff goes. I also know all I really have to do is get about 3 good screws in, and then I can stand the case back up to continue working on it. Cool cheap case, the Apevia Prism Micro, $79.99. I actually, so there is another knockoff of the Leon Lee case that I saw this last week for another customer that I was working with, and I'd recommend against that particular case just because it doesn't have any movable standoffs for the motherboard. So It really reduced the safety of, I guess I shouldn't say the safety, but the stability of the motherboard, because there was not a good solid place to put things. Okay, we've got that. We got a couple more screws to put in here. I think it was called like Keiders or Keiders or Keiders. It was really something. I was very unimpressed. So far, the Deepcool case appears to have the standoffs all in the correct location for a standard ATX board, which is good because it makes this build super quick and super easy. Okay. Just double checking, making sure I have everything in the right place here. Looks like all of my screw holes have a screw in them, so we're good. All right, so the next step here is the power supply. And stand this up. So power supply requires taking the back panel off here. And so with the power supply, I'm gonna have to check a couple of things. So the first thing that I have to check is the graphics card to see how many pins it takes for this particular model. Because it doesn't actually print it on the outside of the box. That's kind of inconvenient. NVIDIA usually does. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't see it. So, we'll cut it open. And we'll just take a look at it physically. And I ripped this box. The little GPU boxes are really fragile, for the record. Okay. And some of them don't even have a closed top, so it's something you have to be careful about so you don't drop your GPU on the floor. But in this case, I went with a Sapphire 7700 XT, which is a good mid-range card. And it looks like we have 16 pins. 16 pins. Pretty good looking graphics card, I'd say. For those of you who are looking top down, here you go. Not a bad looking card. So I'm going to go ahead and just slide this back into the box here for now, because the graphics card is one of the last things that we set up. It's just important to know how much power I need to actually hook up on the power supply. Okay. Set that down there. And that there. Okay, so the power supply will be this guy right here, the RM750E. You know what's kind of a bummer is I like having music on these streams just because it kind of makes it a little more enjoyable. But I always get flagged for it later. And I don't know if I'm going to need the screws that I have here going forward for the rest of this build, so I'm going to just push them off to the side here. I will need these 4 because these are for the glass cover. I'm going to set them off to the side over here. Okay. So power supply comes with its own screws, which I always use what Corsair provides. This is the new power cord. There's the bag of power connectors. Put this up on end. So the 750E, if you're looking for a really good quality but still like won't break the bank power supply, I highly recommend the Corsair RM750E. I believe it's still a gold rated, 80 plus gold rated power supply. And if you're not running crazy stuff, it was pretty decent. I think it was like $79.99 for the part. So really just pretty solid. So, but anyway. It says Cybernetics Platinum, or Cybernetics Platinum. I don't know if that means 80 plus platinum. I don't think it does. I don't think I've ever seen this rated as an 80 plus platinum. Yeah, it's 80 plus gold. Okay. Here we go. Power supply is always the fun part. Routing the cabling and everything. So in this computer we have an 8-pin CPU connector, we have our standard 24 pin, and then we're doing 16 on the GPU. So really pretty straightforward. And then it looks like maybe, let's see, we've got our normal motherboard hookups back here. I don't know how the RGB functions on this guy. I don't know that matters too much. Looks like we have some board headers. I don't see a SATA connector anywhere back here though, so I think we're good on that. I don't like how some of these fans were run, but I'll probably open up the case a little more after I get the power supply in and actually route those a little better. So, all right, so we're going to start with the 24-pin connector. So it's the obvious one every computer has. Use Nefix on YouTube, all copyright-free music. Oh, okay. Thanks for the pointer. I will probably do that then. I could just play Crab Rave over and over again. I'm pretty sure that's royalty-free music. It's in just about every LTT video. All right. The only thing about the 750E is you don't get like super fancy cables. You know, sometimes they have the really nice, like all these, I don't know how you say it, coated cables or wrapped cables. These are not wrapped or anything special. They're just standard. This meets the new standard, so that's for a GPU if you're going to have like a 4070, the NVIDIA connector, basically the 12 volt connector. Here is our 16-pin PCIe. We'll get that plugged in. Oh wait, this is a single. Oh, that's seems like an auxiliary PCIe. I'm not going to use that one. CPU. There's your 8-pin CPU connector. CPU. Okay. Another CPU connector. Okay, so the core problem that I'm having right now is I'm seeing a lot of extra SATA connections that I don't need. Here's the legitimate PCIe connector. One that's actually got 16 pins on it. Alright. Here we are. I'll go ahead and hook this up in here. And that's pretty much it. We don't need any SATA connectors because there's no SATA power. No SATA powered options, at least right now. I could hook one up and just leave it in there as kind of an auxiliary connector, which I might do. Just because we never know if down the line he's going to want to upgrade to a liquid cooler or something like that. So I'll probably go ahead and just stick a SATA connector on this anyway. And just tuck it in somewhere it won't bother anything. Alright. Alright, so SATA connectors installed, 24 pin connectors installed, we're all ready to go. So let's get this power supply slapped in here. And the front panel connectors are just kind of hanging in the way here, so shove those out towards the front. I used to have a view that was a better view for this whole where you'd have a front view as well as the side view, but they would flip. Or sorry, front as well as top, but I could flip them. I'm not going to worry about that this time, but I will continue to improve this as I do more and more of these streams. In fact, I was going to try to stream this to YouTube, but they're making me wait 24 hours for the streaming access for some reason, so that's a little annoying. But I'll just upload it later. Okay. Can take my shaft extension off now. Don't need that anymore. So again, not tightening all the way because the power supply has to be able to move about a little bit freely in the beginning, just until you can get all 4 screws in. Just get them all started and then tighten up on the 4th screw. Okay, power supply screwed in place. We'll go ahead and get the cabling actually routed now. And that is an absolutely terrible place for them to mount cabling. I'm going to undo that because I hate it. Thank you, Deepcool, for mounting things right in the way of where I want to put the power supply cable for everything. Strapped it off to another side. I'm getting another phone call while I'm streaming. Okay. 24 pin connector is in. It clicked well. All right. 8-pin CPU connector is next. Is also now in as well. Oh, come on, guys. Route this stuff properly. This looks terrible. Sorry, I'm being a little picky about the routing of cables, because it gets really annoying when you're trying to work on things and the manufacturer routed cables right through the path where you wanted stuff to be a little neater. All right, and so they give you a little baggie of power or of zip strips. This is usually what I use them for. Strapping this stuff back here to the back. Now, I got 2 little baggies of zip strips because I got one from the case manufacturer and then one from Corsair, but Corsair's little zip strips tend to be a little more sturdy. It can handle cinching up a little tighter, so most case manufacturers, little zip strips can't. All right, so we got that fan cable and that CPU cable tucked back here. It's zipped together, so they're out of the way. I'm going to use one more wherever I put the baggie of zip strips, right in front of my face, as usual. Okay. All right, so that's strapped in place. Basically, the only connector left to feed through that's a power connector is the PCIe. I'm not super concerned about right now. I got to get the front panel connectors hooked up and make sure everything is functional that way. So the next connector is the front USB 3.0. And that usually, yeah, on this particular motherboard, oh my goodness. The fan wiring might drive me crazy before this super easy build is actually over. Okay, USB 3.0 is plugged in. Now we've got a USB 2.0 connector. And I'm not sure if this is actually USB 2.0. It is, okay. Wasn't sure if that was actually a USB 2.0 or if it was a fan control USB cable. Because sometimes they'll do that. And trying to get that hooked up. Trying to. There we go. USB 3.0 cable is a little thick. Little thick. This one is for the front audio connections. I didn't just get that stuck, which I think I did. Like stuck in here with the power supply. There we go. Yep. There we go. HD audio is good. Okay, so now all that should be left are the front panel like power connections, which are right here. So this is going to be your reset switch, your power switch, and probably a hard drive LED. Yeah, hard drive LED, which just indicates, you know, that the hard drive is active and running. There is a signal wire here for, it looks like the case fans. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make sense of why that's so strangely positioned, and then plug it into the board if I can. Literally just looks like it's in a knot. Not really sure what the thought was when putting all these together. Okay. Because yeah, we definitely need at least one signal wire to go to the board. And this will be my signal wire to the board. See, that wasn't so hard. It's just everything came so freaking tangled. It was awful. Sometimes I feel like case manufacturers are like, screw you, guy. Especially this one, it just threw all the screws in the bag. Didn't even separate it out by the type of screw. Okay, so the fans are all connected now as well. Again, not super pleased with how they're routed, but it works, I guess. The other thing is it kind of defeats the purpose of hiding cables in this, because the power supply shroud is actually, it's kind of a grill versus a shroud. You can see right through it, so kind of pointless. I don't know if I like that very much, as you can see where the extra hidden wires are. But again, I keep telling myself it was just a $60 case, so nothing super concerning. Hard drive LED. Reset switch and power switch. All right, so now the This does not look pretty from the front because I haven't pulled back everything yet, so I can manage it a little better. But that should help some. We just did there. So should that. And go ahead and stick our PCIe connectors through this slot here. And I'm going to take some more of these little zip strips and zip it up. You know, it's funny. With this build, it was kind of at my discretion to what would be purchased for it, because this customer just kind of trusts me to get him whatever, within reason, of course. He set a budget for it, and I kind of told him, you know, hey, we might want to go a little higher than what you were thinking, just because you won't get the performance long term that you'll want if you go with the CyberPower PC build. It was $9.99 at Best Buy, because that one, while it had just about everything that he would need, you know, when you buy a CyberPower PC from Best Buy, you usually end up with it had a 13th gen Core i7, I think it was, which is great, but the GPU was a 3068 gig, and then the power supply was unknown, and so was the solid state drive, but then it just wasn't good. It just wasn't good. There's a lot of, when you buy a PC like that, you never know what they're putting in it specifically. And so they can put as cheap of parts as they want to in it. And they don't have to tell you, really, because you're buying their brand. And in all honesty, they only have to stand behind it for a year. So as long as it lasts a year, they're in the clear. So they're going to buy you something that's only going to last a year. I didn't want him to get down the road a couple years and have to come back to me for a power supply replacement or, you know, anything like that. I would rather skimp on a case that's super fancy and go with something that's, you know, still going to provide what he's looking for. It's lightweight. It's just, you know, it's plastic and aluminum, but there's not a lot of frill to it, and he's honestly not looking for that. So he just wanted something that was going to run his games. So that's what we went with. So, all right. I have managed cables just about as well as I can. Anything that looks a little funky on the backside here is just the result of their fan cabling. So I don't know how well you can see that on that webcam, but I'm going to flip it on its side here. And you can kind of see my cable management work on the back side of the PC. So in reality, you know, you really should just have 3 big runs coming down. We've got our rear case fan here, which ties into all the other fans with the same signal cables. We've got our front panel connectors, which run on the side up here. And then we've got our power connector here that supplies our 24-pin power. So, and I've kind of zipped all those front panel connectors together and tucked them down in to the side there so they won't be as noticeable. But that part is done. So essentially at this point, it's just a GPU installation, which will be super straightforward. And he sent me a deadline of March 15th, so I think we're well in advance of that deadline, which is totally fine. Totally fine. I think the only thing that we didn't talk about was a Windows license, which obviously he needs a Windows license. And yeah, thanks for the reminder to drink my coffee. It's just sitting here while I talk, so. Alrighty. So, this is the 7700 XT. It's a dual fan model. I'm going to go ahead and take all the peels off of it here. Maybe some of them seem like they're tucked behind the metal cover here. Start from an easier end, maybe. Oh yeah. So I don't know much about the Sapphire brand. I think they're pretty well established with AMD as far as AMD GPUs go. I think they're a fairly popular AMD variant, or variant of the AMD cards. I'm sure it's better than XFX or whatever the other weird ones are out there. Still have a few peels left. You ever wonder what these companies are thinking when they do this? Or they're like, well, how much plastic can we put on this? Feasibly. Okay. Looks pretty good. All right, we'll go ahead and get the GPU slotted here. So this is the only other thing that we're going to need these screws for slotting the GPU. I believe this is one of those cases where rather than the rear PCIe slots being, just sliding out, this is one where they punch out. Again, like I said, it's just a kind of a cheaper case, so. Honestly, it doesn't have to be fancy as long as everything fits and works the way it's supposed to. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Grab a couple of screws to get this guy secured. Okay. It's a pretty good looking PC build so far. Okay. Slide the power connectors in there. And now we're all done. And that's that. So, PC is all built. I don't know how well you can see it from that side, but we've got the GPU, CPU, everything is installed, ready to roll. So it's just a matter now of doing the Windows installation, and then he'll be ready to go. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's basically the stream for tonight. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them in, and or just comment on the video or whatever after it's posted on Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, and let me know. Anyway, that's all. Have a good night.